Welcome, beautiful damsels. While you're busy plotting revenge, your enemy is busy forgetting you exist. Revenge is often painted as sweet, but here's a fact. Studies show it rarely delivers the satisfaction people crave. In fact, it often makes things worse, trapping you in a loop of bitterness. So why waste precious energy avenging a petty slight when you could use it to dominate your own game? This is where the Sigma mindset shines. They don't have time for revenge. And not because they're saints. They've simply figured out the ultimate hack. Success is the most humiliating defeat you can hand to an enemy. While others are stewing in their grudges, Sigmas are too busy building empires, living unapologetically, and making their enemies wonder, was I even important enough to hate? It's not indifference, it's strategy. Let's dive into why Sigmas always win, not by getting even, but by getting ahead. And trust me, it's way more satisfying. Number 1. They see revenge as reactive, not strategic. Sigmas see revenge for what it truly is, a reaction. When someone wrongs you, revenge puts them in the driver's seat. It means you're responding to their actions, letting them dictate your next move. Sigmas refuse to hand over that kind of power. They don't play a game where someone else sets the rules, especially when the rules are driven by emotions like anger or pride. Revenge also forces you into a narrow mindset. You become obsessed with the person who hurt you, plotting ways to hurt them back. But Sigmas are strategic thinkers. They know this kind of obsession is a trap. It keeps you stuck in the moment of the offense, reliving it over and over. Instead of moving forward, you spiral, wasting time and energy on something that doesn't actually fix anything. Sigmas won't let anyone occupy their headspace like that. What makes them so intriguing is their ability to shift the dynamic entirely. By choosing not to react, they take control of the situation. They understand that the best power move isn't retaliation. It's doing nothing at all and letting the other person wonder what's coming. In the silence, Sigmas thrive. They channel their energy into their goals, their passions, and their growth. Meanwhile, the person who wronged them is left confused, waiting for a response that never comes. This isn't passivity, it's genius. Sigmas know that thriving in spite of someone's efforts to tear you down is the ultimate checkmate. It's not about letting the offender win, it's about playing a bigger game they don't even understand. In the end, revenge becomes irrelevant because Sigmas don't just survive. They dominate, and they do it on their terms, not anyone else's. Number 2, revenge wastes energy that could build a legacy. Sigmas understand one fundamental truth. Revenge doesn't create anything. It's destructive, temporary, and ultimately hollow. When someone wrongs you, the instinct for revenge may feel powerful, but what does it really achieve? A fleeting moment of satisfaction. Sigmas aren't interested in fleeting. They're playing the long game, and for them, revenge is a poor investment of time and energy. Every ounce of energy spent plotting revenge is energy that could be used to build something meaningful. A business, a skill, a legacy. Sigmas don't just think about the next step, they think about the next 10 years. They're not looking for a petty, short-lived win. They're aiming for something bigger, undeniable success. While their enemies are caught up in petty dramas, Sigmas are too busy growing into someone no one can touch. Sigmas also know that revenge often drags you down to the level of the person who wronged you. Why stoop so low when you can rise above? Instead of spending nights obsessing over payback, they use that time to sharpen their strengths, double down on their ambitions, and set themselves apart. The irony is, their enemies become a source of fuel, not because Sigmas want to beat them, but because the challenge reminds them to keep pushing forward. When you focus on building something extraordinary, revenge becomes laughably small in comparison. By the time a Sigma achieves their goals, their enemies are left in the dust, often forgotten entirely. And that's the poetic part. The ultimate victory isn't in destroying someone else, but in becoming so unstoppable that they're irrelevant. Sigmas aren't just avoiding revenge because it's a waste of time. They're too busy doing what truly matters, and that's creating a future where they've already won. Number 3. They know revenge can diminish their own value. Sigmas understand that revenge is often rooted in insecurity. It's a loud announcement to the world that someone has gotten under your skin, and that you're willing to compromise your values to even the score. For Sigmas, this is a lose-lose situation. Why? Because revenge inherently ties your worth to someone else's actions. It sends the message that their offense was so significant you had to interrupt your own path just to deal with it. That's not power. That's letting someone else define your value. Sigmas refuse to give anyone that kind of leverage over them. Their self-worth doesn't depend on winning petty battles or proving a point to people who don't matter. They know that stooping to someone else's level only cheapens their own character. Integrity, for a Sigma, is non-negotiable. It's the foundation of their identity, and no offense is worth cracking it. Revenge also risks making Sigmas look small. In their world, actions speak louder than words or retaliations. If they engage in the same petty behavior as the person who wronged them, what sets them apart? Nothing. They'd rather maintain their dignity, letting their silence, resilience, and success speak for them. The real kicker is that Sigmas don't need revenge to prove their strength. Their ability to stay composed, keep moving forward, and excel in the face of betrayal is a far more powerful statement. They don't react because they don't have to. They've already won by staying true to themselves. In the end, revenge diminishes the person seeking it far more than it punishes the offender. Sigmas understand this and refuse to let anyone drag them down to a place where their value is up for negotiation. They demand better from themselves and always deliver. Number 4. Revenge traps you in the past. Sigmas stay in the future. Sigmas understand that revenge is nothing more than a tether to the past. When you chase revenge, you anchor yourself to the moment you were hurt, reliving the offense over and over. The more you plan and plot, the deeper the wound feels, keeping you locked in a cycle of bitterness and pain. Sigmas won't let anyone have that kind of power over them. They're not interested in carrying the baggage of yesterday when the future is waiting to be conquered. To a Sigma, the past is a lesson, not a prison. They take what they need from an experience, whether it's knowledge, strength, or resilience, and leave the rest behind. They understand that focusing on the future is the only way to rise above the hurt. Every step forward is a step away from the person who wronged them. And with each move, they gain more perspective, more clarity, and ultimately, more freedom. Revenge, on the other hand, is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. It keeps you chained to the very thing you want to escape. Sigmas know that real power lies in moving on, not looking back. Their ability to let go isn't weakness, it's strength. It takes courage to leave old wounds behind and channel that energy into creating something new, something bigger, something unshakable. When a Sigma chooses their future over revenge, they outgrow their offenders entirely. They evolve in ways their enemies can't touch or even comprehend. The pain becomes irrelevant, the offender becomes a ghost, and the Sigma thrives. That's their secret. By staying focused on what's ahead, they don't just heal, they transcend. And in that transcendence, they achieve the kind of success that makes any thought of revenge seem trivial. Number 5. They aren't motivated by ego or validation. Revenge is often fueled by one thing: ego. Someone wrongs you and suddenly it becomes about proving something, proving you're stronger, smarter, or that you can't be messed with. But Sigmas operate on a different level. They don't need to prove their worth to anyone, least of all to someone petty enough to try and bring them down. Their confidence isn't built on applause or approval from others. It's built on an unshakable foundation of self-awareness and inner strength. For Sigmas, external validation is irrelevant. Their value isn't tied to what others think or say about them. This is why they're immune to the temptation of revenge. Why waste time trying to make a point to someone who doesn't even matter in the bigger picture? To a Sigma, the opinions of their offenders are like background noise, annoying perhaps, but ultimately unworthy of their attention. Ego-driven people are easy to manipulate because they're reactive. Offend them, and they'll scramble to restore their bruised pride, often playing right into their enemy's hands. Sigmas are the opposite. They don't react because their self-worth isn't on the line. They see revenge for what it is, a trap designed to distract them from their goals. Their lack of need for validation is what makes Sigmas so untouchable. While others are chasing approval or trying to prove a point, Sigmas are focused on what truly matters, their own growth, peace, and success. Their actions are driven by purpose, not ego, and that's why they don't waste time on revenge. It's not because they're passive, it's because they know their worth, and nothing anyone does can take that away. Their confidence isn't negotiable, and they're not interested in playing games to satisfy someone else's insecurity. Number 6. They weaponize their achievements. Sigmas know that the best way to silence anyone who has wronged them isn't through words or actions aimed directly at the offender. It's through undeniable success. They weaponize their achievements in a way that makes retaliation unnecessary. While others are busy plotting revenge or playing petty games, Sigmas channel that energy into excelling, creating, and thriving. Their success becomes a glaring reminder to their enemies that any attempt to bring them down was not only futile, but laughably insignificant. Living an extraordinary life is the kind of revenge that requires no effort to deliver, because it's a natural byproduct of the Sigma's relentless focus. Every achievement, whether it's a career milestone, a creative triumph, or personal growth, becomes a statement. And that statement is simple. You didn't stop me. You couldn't even slow me down. Sigmas don't have to say it out loud. Their lives say it for them. What makes this approach so powerful is the contrast it creates. While their enemies are stuck in petty, reactive behavior, the Sigma is operating on a completely different level. It's not just that the Sigma thrives, it's that their thriving exposes how small and irrelevant the offender's actions really were. Every success the Sigma achieves makes their enemies' efforts look weaker and more pitiful by comparison. The beauty of this approach is its permanence. Words fade and acts of revenge are easily forgotten, but achievements last. Sigmas build legacies that outlive the conflicts that sparked them, and in the end, that's the ultimate retaliation. To live so well, so powerfully, and so unapologetically that your enemies are left watching from the sidelines, realizing they never had a chance to matter in the first place. Number 7. Revenge assumes the opponent matters. Sigmas rarely agree. For Sigmas, revenge is an act that assumes the opponent is worth the time, effort, and energy it requires. But here's the thing. Sigmas rarely agree. They are highly selective about what and who gets their attention. And most of the people who try to bring them down simply don't make the cut. Why waste energy on someone whose actions are more of a distraction than a real threat? For Sigmas, it's like swatting at a fly with a sledgehammer, inefficient and unnecessary. Sigmas operate with a profound sense of purpose. Their time and focus are reserved for pursuits that align with their vision, their growth, and their success. Seeking revenge would mean diverting energy from what truly matters, and that's a price they're not willing to pay. By ignoring their opponents, they make it clear that those people don't hold enough significance to warrant even a second thought. And in a world obsessed with reactions, indifference is the ultimate insult. This isn't about arrogance, it's about clarity. Sigmas are masters of emotional discipline. They don't let their pride or ego trick them into engaging with people who have no real power over their lives. To them, most enemies are just noise, background interference that doesn't deserve acknowledgement. By refusing to retaliate, Sigmas strip their opponents of the satisfaction of mattering. Their silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. It sends a message louder than any act of revenge ever could. You're irrelevant. And once an opponent realizes that they don't even register in the Sigma's world, the power dynamic shifts entirely. The Sigma moves forward, untouched and unbothered, while their enemies are left grappling with the undeniable truth that they were never significant enough to make an impact. Number 8. They understand revenge breeds dependence. Sigmas understand that revenge creates an invisible chain between you and the person who wronged you. The more you plot, plan, and dwell on getting even, the more you're tethered to that individual. It's like carrying a mental ball and chain, with your energy tied to someone who, in most cases, doesn't deserve it. For Sigmas, this is unacceptable. Independence is their core value, and anything that compromises their freedom, mental, emotional, or otherwise, is immediately discarded. Revenge isn't just a distraction, it's a form of dependence. It keeps you focused on someone else's actions, forcing you to react instead of act on your own terms. Sigmas recognize this trap and avoid it entirely. They don't want their decisions, emotions, or progress dictated by someone who hurt them. Instead, they cut the cord, choosing to move forward rather than looking back. To a Sigma, the ultimate freedom lies in letting go, not in getting even. Grudges are another form of captivity. Holding on to resentment allows the offender to live rent-free in your head, stealing space that could be used for personal growth or creativity. Sigmas are too self-aware to fall into this pattern. They refuse to let anyone occupy that kind of real estate in their minds. By releasing the grudge, they reclaim control over their thoughts and emotions, ensuring no one else has the power to steer their life. This isn't about forgiveness, it's about self-preservation. Revenge keeps you chained to the past, while independence propels you into the future. Sigmas choose freedom every time, leaving their offenders behind to wrestle with their own irrelevance. In doing so, they maintain their autonomy, their focus, and their peace of mind, things far too valuable to risk over someone who's already proven unworthy of their attention. Number 9. They master the art of redirection. Sigmas have an incredible ability to transform negative emotions into powerful tools for growth. When most people feel anger or betrayal, they get stuck in a spiral, stewing over the injustice and fueling their desire for revenge. Sigmas, however, don't waste energy on the past. Instead, they use those emotions as fuel to propel themselves forward. Anger becomes the fire that ignites their passion, and betrayal morphs into a catalyst for innovation. What others might see as setbacks or slights, Sigmas see as opportunities to refine their craft, sharpen their skills, or achieve something greater. For a Sigma, any negative encounter is a lesson. When they face challenges or emotional wounds, they don't wallow in self-pity or seek payback. Instead, they ask themselves, how can I use this? Whether it's a business failure, a personal betrayal, or an unfair criticism, Sigmas redirect their pain into something constructive. They use that emotional energy to push themselves to new heights, making the most of every setback. The more intense the emotion, the greater the potential for growth. This ability to turn adversity into advantage sets Sigmas apart from most people. While others remain anchored to their grudges, the Sigma keeps moving, transforming each challenge into a stepping stone. In fact, their enemies unknowingly fuel their progress. Every attempt to tear them down only makes them stronger, more innovative, and more resilient. By the time their enemies realize it, the Sigma has already turned their pain into a success story. This isn't just emotional maturity, it's strategic brilliance. Sigmas don't allow their emotions to control them. Instead, they control their emotions, using them to propel themselves toward a better, more powerful version of themselves. Every betrayal, insult, or defeat becomes a tool for evolution. And with each victory, their enemies are left wondering how they got left so far behind. Number 10. They make people regret through their absence. Sigmas understand the power of absence. When wronged, they don't retaliate with anger or vengeance. They simply remove themselves from the equation. This absence, however, speaks volumes. It's not about making a scene or making someone feel guilty. It's about leaving a void so profound that others are forced to reckon with the true cost of losing access to them. When a Sigma walks away, they don't need to say a word. The silence is the message. People who once took them for granted are suddenly left with the realization that they no longer have the privilege of the Sigma's presence, insight, or influence. The void created by their departure isn't just a lack of interaction. It's a stark reminder of what they've lost. It's the emptiness that makes people reconsider their actions because they know deep down that this is not a person who can be easily replaced. Sigmas don't over-explain themselves or beg for acknowledgement. They simply make themselves scarce. This absence forces others to confront their own behavior. It's not about revenge, but about ensuring that the Sigma's worth is clearly understood. When people take a Sigma for granted and they're no longer around, that's when the regret truly kicks in. They suddenly realize the value of someone who wasn't just an accessory to their lives, but someone who contributed meaning, clarity, and strength. For a Sigma, This is the most potent form of retaliation. To disappear and make others face the consequences of their actions without lifting a finger. Over time, this absence creates a longing, a sense of loss, that's much more effective than any act of revenge. By simply walking away, Sigmas teach the powerful lesson that their presence is something you never want to lose. In the end, Sigmas understand that revenge is a self-imposed trap, a distraction that keeps you tethered to the past, while the future waits to be conquered. They choose to rise above the noise, using their energy to create, build, and thrive, leaving their adversaries in the dust. Instead of fueling resentment, they turn negative emotions into catalysts for growth. And instead of seeking justice, they let their achievements and absence do the talking. Their power lies not in their ability to fight back, but in their ability to remain unwaveringly focused on their own journey, knowing that true success and peace come from within. Sigmas have mastered the art of moving forward, not because they're indifferent, but because they know the only person worth impressing is themselves. Their strength is in their independence. Their self-worth is unshakable, and their growth is inevitable. So, the next time someone wrongs them, they won't waste a second plotting revenge. They'll simply keep moving higher and faster than ever before. Because in the world of Sigmas, the best revenge is living a life so extraordinary that their enemies are left wondering how they were ever part of the picture in the first place. If you've enjoyed diving into the Sigma mindset and uncovering the powerful ways they navigate life, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join the journey. You don't want to miss out on more insights, wisdom, and strategies that can help you level up in ways you never imagined. So subscribe now and be part of a community that values growth, independence, and the kind of mindset that can turn every challenge into an opportunity. Let's keep evolving together. Your best self is just one click away. Thanks, damsels, for tuning in. See you in the next vid. Bye and stay blessed.